Trying to live my life better every day.
Yeah.
Don't take for granted
Back in the great city of Riverside at the iHeartRadio studios, it's IE Sportsnet, protected by the Riverside Sheriff's Association, right here live on Fox Sports Radio, AM 1350. I am your host, Eternal.
And I am the one and only Coach B. You know, when it comes to Inland Empire Sports, you know the conversation starts and stops here. We're also streaming at foxsports1350.com and the iHeartRadio app.
We do have a special caller on the Boost Mobile Celebrity Be Heard hotline. Caller, if you would please do us the courtesy of introducing yourself to the Fox Sports Radio audience.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Tank Obadiah, the Sweet Science Examiner.
There it is right there, man. Hey, look, Tank, thank you so
right here
much,
in
man.
Southern California, IE representing.
I love it. Love to hear that, brother. Thank you so much for calling us in today. We appreciate that, obviously. I don't know if I'm hearing like a little bit of feedback, but if you can't turn your radio down just a little bit in the background, that could be yes, but don't trip. At any rate, thank you. I always see your Instagram heavily into boxing. Give our audience a little bit of breakdown and some background on your experience with boxing.
Absolutely. So my background actually is mixed martial arts. I grew up learning mixed martial arts. It was my father, actually, though, who was a boxer out of the Marines. So that's where I got my love for boxing and my interest in boxing, because as I was growing up as a kid in martial arts, he was the one that would use boxing skills to teach me, little insider things that would help me during my competitions. So in that time, also, you got to understand, I'm an old man, so I grew up in the 80s where boxing was at a pinnacle when it came to stars like Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, and my dad would just teach me the game at that point, what it is that they're doing. Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, etc. So that's where it started for me.
No doubt. And we wanted to get you on the show because obviously, in the middle of the pandemic, folks are having a quarantine. We're just salivating at the opportunity of any kind of sports. But recently, the contract got signed. Mike Tyson and Roy Jones. Now, everybody thought it was going to be Holyfield, and we thought we were about to get a ear bite remix, but it didn't happen like that. Give us your thoughts about what you thought about this whole fight happening, and were you surprised about them picking Roy Jones?
My thoughts about the exhibition is let me start with the Roy Jones aspect over Evander Holyfield. Actually, I wanted to see the Roy Jones matchup instead of Holyfield. Okay. Just me personally. Yes, there were talks about the trilogy happening with those two, and as you said, the bite heard around the world. But me personally, we already seen how they match up. I thought it was always intriguing to see how Roy and Mike Tyson match up. To give your callers and all of our listeners a little backstory, a quick backstory. If you look at the memoirs of James Prince, who's a boxing promoter, used to promote Andre Ward. Now he manages fighters like Shakur Stevenson. If you read his memoir, he has a chapter in his book, The Art and Science of Respect, where he talks about in 2012 he was going to set up the fight between Roy Jones and Mike Tyson back then.
Okay.
Right? So this was intriguing to boxing fans like myself back then. But as we know, in 2002, what ended up happening was James Prince brought them both to his ranch in Texas. They both got to sit down and agree that they were going to go 25 mil apiece and fight each other. However, they had to go and try to generate this money, this $50 million, so each fighter can get paid.
Right.
Well, what happened was the closest they got was a $17 million offer for each fighter from the Maloof brothers, who have casinos in Las Vegas and were owners of the Sacramento Kings, as we know.
Right.
So Mike was cool with that. According to James Prince, let's make the $17 million, let's get it on, me and Roy Jones. But Roy Jones said that he wanted to stand on the principle of the fact that he agreed on $25 million, and if it wasn't going to be 25, he wasn't going to fight. So what ended up happening was, we know Mike Tyson ended up fighting Lynch Lewis and got knocked out. 2 years later, Roy Jones Jr. Took the rematch with Antonio Tarver, and he got knocked out. So that killed that fight back then.
Right.
So fast forward to right now, when the talks came back up saying that, hey, Mike Tyson is interested in coming back for exhibition, for me, it was always like, you know what? I've already seen what it looks like when Holyfield and Tyson get in the ring when they were active. So at this point in their respective careers, I probably didn't really want to see that. And a lot of people, when they watch boxing, they view Holyfield as a fighter that they do not want to see get injured in terms of any brain damage.
Right.
Slurring the speech and things like that. You don't want anybody putting themselves in any kind of dangerous situation just to entertain us, So when they went with Roy, that made me happy, because I thought that stylistically it would be an interesting thing to see, albeit an exhibition.
Indeed.
Absolutely. And when you look at the fighters, Roy Jones, at one point, he was considered the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. He won titles at 160, 168, 170, and heavyweight. Mike Tyson was the youngest heavyweight champion ever, and everyone knows that. What can we expect in this fight? We talked a little bit about this before you came in, where Roy Jones, it seems when he went to heavyweight, he wasn't as successful. So it seemed a little sluggish. Is he's going to be able to throw him with Mike? I've seen videos of Mike, and Mike looks like he's got it. He hasn't lost a step.
Right. Well, what's interesting about that is, between the two of them, Roy's been more active than the two.
Okay.
So, Roy's last fight was in 2018. Mike's last fight was in 2005.
Right.
So, between the two of them, who's been more active, as far as the muscle memory on what they're going to be able to do, it's probably Roy. His body's probably going to be more prepared on any impactful moves that has to be done in the ring during the exhibition. Whereas in Mike, we don't know how he's going to hold up when we have to get in there and do pivoting and do a lot of switch movements and counters and things like that. We're not sure. Now,
and for like 6 rounds, you know what I mean? That's 3 minutes.
Huh?
That's 3 minutes. 6 rounds. That's a long. I mean, people don't think that like that, but that's a long time to be in there.
That's
when
a
you're
long
50
time.
plus.
My thing is this: what's gonna make it interesting, though, guys? What's gonna make it interesting to me is what's gonna happen. Let's say all things considered, we look at things optimistically and say neither of these 50-year-old legendary warriors are gonna get injured in the fight. Right? Let's hope for the best. Let's say none of these guys get injured. Being at their age, this is the hurt business at the end of the day.
Right.
So let's say they get in there and all things considered, they're all right. What's going to be interesting is what happens competitively between these two guys. We're talking about, two very, very high-level competitors when they were on top of their game. What's going to happen when Roy Jones hit Mike really hard? What's going to happen when Mike hits Roy Jones really hard and it turns from an exhibition to a competition?
Right.
And they're saying, you know what, this is a pay-per-view. I've always wanted to fight you. I never thought you were better than me. In my mind, what's going to happen when that comes out in, let's say, round 4 or round 3 or round 5?
Right.
That's going to make it interesting, because now that's going to raise the level of competition in the exhibition.
Right.
Well,
And so we talked about Mike's 54. His record was 50-6. Roy Jones 51. His final record was 66-9. Like you said, he lost. No, he won his last fight in 2018. He beat Scott Sigmund. Now, what are your predictions? I am probably the biggest Money Man Mike fan ever. I had a fan moment when I met him, and my lips started to quiver. But what are your thoughts? What do you predict in this fight? I got Mike.
I'm giving you a drum roll right here, brother. You got a drum roll, man. So go ahead.
I'm gonna be the party pooper. I think this is gonna end up something similar to a draw, where you're not gonna be able to tell which guy won.
Wow.
We couldn't hear you.
Your phone, man.
It's static. I couldn't hear what he said.
You say who gonna win?
I thought he said Mike won. That's what I thought.
A little competitive scrap. But the winners of this, honestly, if nobody gets hurt and injured, is going to be us.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, now I can hear you. Now your phone's coming through. Now I can hear you.
There we go. No, thanks again, Tank, man. We appreciate it, brother. We got to make sure as soon as this fight wraps up, we got to have you back on air, man, and we wrap again, okay?
Absolutely, gentlemen. I appreciate what you guys do. Fans of both you guys, Coach B and Eternal, keep rocking, keep representing for the IE, and putting these sports on for these young people and all of us that are fans of listening to you guys every morning on Saturdays.
All right, man,
I just appreciate the fact he knows that Coach B comes first and Eternal comes
second. Say that
again? Here you go, all right?
Hey,
you enjoy your weekend, brother.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Coach B, then Eternal. But you know what? I haven't reported. Is it 6 rounds or 8 rounds? Because I see that it's supposed to be 8 rounds.
Oh, maybe it is 8. I could, because you looking at it.
But they may have changed it. You never know. Because 8 rounds is a lot.
Let me tell you something. I used to wrestle. And I know I sound like I used to be prime king. But I used to wrestle, man. And it was 3 minutes, what they call quarters or what have you. And let me tell you something. I used to, it was, that first 3 minutes was dramatic. So,
and that's tough at 103. But let's go ahead.
Side. Boom, boom, boom,
Let's get up out of here. Thank you for listening to IE Sports Net, protected by the Riverside Sheriff's Association with Coach B.
And Eternal, when it comes to Inland Empire Sports, you know the conversation starts and stops here. Live on Fox Sports Radio.
Who do we have on today?
About to say, big shout out to our girl Lauren Jones and my man Tank. Thanks again, man. We'll stay tuned, y'all. Be safe out there. Have a good weekend.
Training camps by the classes just to escape and see something better. Got me working hard as hell, stepping out my level. Get this money, bring my homies right about the ghetto. Riding big trucks, only for the big bucks we settle. They say you got to see a little bit of hell to get you some heaven. So just imagine how I got where I'm stepping. Yeah, this life is good.